As your product endeavor succeeds, you will inevitably need to scale. Whether it's your own vision or the milestones set before you by your board or VC firm, you are being asked to accomplish bigger outcomes, and that requires greater throughput. Greater throughput means more people on more teams. However, you want to avoid losing the nimble and responsive way that your organization has operated to date. What does it look like to scale in a truly agile fashion? Welcome to Agile Scaling Foundations with Barry Hawkins. Please be sure to like and subscribe. This video series is based on training that I've delivered over the years, both as a product development leader building teams internally and as a consultant helping clients scale their product development organizations as well. In this video, I'll introduce the topic of product development scaling and articulate how an agile mindset differs from traditional approaches to the endeavor. Scaling differently with agile. The need to scale is arguably the best problem to have as a product development organization. It usually implies that your product is resonating with users and you're seeing growth, or perhaps it's so novel that it's attracting investor attention and they want to see how they can help you accelerate the growth of your product and your organization. But there's a lot of uncertainty as you face how to go about scaling, and founders often choose one of two undesirable paths. The first one is to just keep doing things the way we've been doing because maybe that's part of the magic, and if we stop doing that, the magic will go away and all will fall to ruin. It's a risk to assume that the way you've been doing things that got you here will be the way that can carry you forward as you need to grow and scale. The number of people and the number of teams is going to multiply, and all those teams need to be able to row in the same direction and collaborate well if you're going to deliver the outcomes you need for those future milestones of growth. The second undesirable path is to fall back on choosing one of the traditional or classical approaches to product development scaling, perhaps what one founder saw at the last company they worked, or what recommendation came from a board member or an advisor because that's what they're doing at the big old company they come from. Just because a very different company at a very different point in their life have chosen to employ a classical approach to product scaling, that neither implies nor guarantees that it will serve you well for the ways that your organization needs to grow and move in the path ahead. Bigger doesn't require heavy and slow. There's a temptation as you begin to scale to leverage techniques like extensive, heavyweight upfront documentation with very rigid change control protocols and approval gates. The danger in leveraging these dysfunctionally comfortable techniques is that they tend to prescribe approaches to teams about how to implement a pile of features. And the language through which these are prescribed often come from prior endeavors or things that have been observed in competing products. And this, unfortunately, tends to simply foster imitation as opposed to exploring possible approaches to an outcome that opens the door for possible innovation. Instead, use techniques like user stories and story mapping to propose possible outcomes to teams and contextualize their priority through the overall vision, then trust the teams to come back with multiple possible approaches to each outcome, then together, through collaboration, determine the path to success that you then refine through ongoing dialogue and iteration. Cross-functional, not silos. Scaling by simply adding more people into larger clumps of the same functional discipline will usually magnify problems you may already be seeing in handoffs between as few as 2 to 5 teams of people simply in the same functional discipline. The larger and more complex the work, the more assumptions a given individual has to make about what the persons before and after them have done as they work in their isolated silo. With cross-functional teams, we group the different functional disciplines together that it takes to move ideas from concept to live for a given part of the product. This sets teams up to have the most holistic perspective possible as they identify and break down, estimate, and then implement work so that the experience that we're trying to create has its best chance at coming to life in the finished product. Visual interactive collaboration. In an Agile approach to product development scaling, there's an explicit avoidance of relying heavily upon large textual documents. Large textual documents are dependent upon the interpretation of the individual reader, who may or may not seek clarification. In an Agile approach, we instead use lightweight documents that lend themselves to mapping and diagrams and convey an idea, but also rely upon dialogue and collaboration to clarify intent. Wherever possible, this collaboration is done in person, but increasingly with all remote companies, at the very least done synchronously over video conferencing. Comfort with uncertainty. Spending months pretending that we can know or determine everything up front if we just take enough time is not a goal in an Agile approach to product development scaling. Much of the learning comes during the implementation of the product, and we want to be able to fold that learning into what we do from that point forward. At the outset, we align and confirm the vision and the experience that we were trying to create, determine the outcomes that we know we can pursue right away, and get started. From there, we refine, expand, and iterate on what we want to do with the balance of time that remains in the product we're trying to create. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notifications icon so that you'll be first to know when new Agile Scaling Foundations episodes and other product development videos are uploaded. For the next Agile Scaling Foundations episode, check out the video up here. For the full Agile Scaling Foundations series, check out the playlist down here. Again, I'm Barry Hawkins. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.